and how you've been growing. They're very high-end clientele for the most part. How have you been keeping costs down without having to have showrooms and stuff like that and competing with these big custom builders?
I think the secret to me was finding the right client that has the budget for stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When I was working mostly with people who were hiring me because I was the best bid, the lowest or the most affordable, I was broke and I only had headaches.
Mm-hmm.
So through the years, I worked on my craft to be known as the high-end contractor. And the cool thing about the high-end clients, like this multi-million remodel we're doing in Deer Valley now, is that they understand that you and I, we are the coordinator of the construction orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
We are not designers.
True. That is true.
And so that was the main first thing to me, was learning the difference between a builder and a designer. And the minute I understood that I didn't have to be going with them to showrooms and all that stuff, that my skill was in actually how their choices along with the designer come together in construction, that's where I should focus. My life got much better.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And so what I hear is you have a designer or someone, go-to designer, maybe they have a designer. A lot of those people that have the money already have a designer beforehand picked out.
Yeah.
And you just work with that designer, and they're the ones that take them to different showrooms to say, hey, I really like, this is where I usually get my countertops, this is where I get my floors, usually go out there. And maybe the designer has some ideas as well as to where to take them.
We can talk about the process of this Park City project.
Yeah, let's do that.
So it actually, he found me through my ads.
Mm-hmm.
So I was running ads. And an interesting thing that he told me, because I was competing against Magobee.
Yeah, and like I said,
Big
big custom builders that are
and
well known.
Those big guys in Park City. And I asked him, was like, why do you hire me? Because it doesn't take a lot of work to see that Anderson Builders is not a Magobee construction
Mm-hmm.
yet. And his answer was, I watched your videos and I liked your personality. I noticed that you're an honest guy. I noticed that. And this is I think the third high-end client that gives me the same feedback. So that's how it started. Then I went to his house. In 15 minutes of conversation, when he told me, well, we want to extend the garage, we want to extend the pantry, we want to do this, and the house is 6,200 square feet, and we want to remodel the whole thing. I immediately thought, I can't give you a bid.
Yeah, there's no way. That's way too much. It's
like I immediately told him, was like, I know for sure this is going to cost. All I can tell you right now is it's going to cost more than $500,000. Were you expecting this? And he was like, yeah, no, I know that. I was like, okay, so let's do construction the right way. I need to hear exactly what you want so I can pass that out to my architect,
mm-hmm.
engineer, and my designer.
Yep. And I think that process is phenomenal. I think in our industry, and I was talking about kind of how people start as laborers and they start hiring a couple guys to help them out, and then they do this, that, the other. Most guys, unlike you, don't have the brain for the business side of it, right? But they become general contractors, and I feel like a lot of times they don't take the time to educate themselves on the business side. And I think that was very astute that you did that there, because I had very similar situations, and sometimes we can get prices up front, but especially with those higher end things. I told you about the add-on I had the other time, and I told them, hey, it was a little bit less complicated, but we're still looking $200, $250 on that add-on. And I had to lift the roof, redo the entire roof line because he wanted to extend past his deck and patio and all this other stuff, put an apartment upstairs. But there's a very set process when you're doing building and construction and contracting correctly. And I think where a lot of people fail, or at least a lot of general contractors, is that they think like you said, they think they're the designer. They think they're this, that, the other. And really the process is, for most people, should be, I don't want to say that the builder should be one of the last things they choose, but they obviously need to see where the costs are going to come in. So the fact that you're able to give them, like, this is going to be over this much, like, I kind of call it like with the sales, you kind of touch them to see how warm they are. It's like, hey, I'm not cheap, and this remodel is not cheap. Are you sure you want to do this? Like, yep. I don't want to convince you not to, but what I don't want happening is I put in 40, 50, 60 hours of time to bid this out, and then we're $300,000 over budget, and you say no, and we wasted all of our time.
I know exactly how that goes. After this Park City client was okay with my referral of architect, engineer, and designer, do you know how long it took for us to plan?
I don't think long, to be honest. I would
10
assume.
months.
Oh, are you serious?
10
Even
months.
with the full team put together?
With the full team.
Wow.
10 months. And the client, I remember, because they kept going to showrooms, and I got an excellent interior designer, Carrie Anderson. She is phenomenal. She is phenomenal because the architect lasered the entire home. Really? Yeah.
That's very. If you mind dropping the name of the architect on?
Yeah, that was. He's actually a draftsman. Because here in the state of Utah, you don't have to be a licensed architect to do residential.
I don't think people realize that. You don't have to have a license.
But he worked for an architectural companies for many years. So Brian Carrick came in and he got it done.
Because most architects do not want to work on remodels like that. Add-ons, remodels, things like that. Unless it's a full add-on and that's it, they will not, like you said, laser the home and figure out the angles and this and that and correctly build a house on paper. And you have to do all of that.
Exactly. So after he lasered, then the designer got those laser measurements, and the designer also had all the floor plans, and the designer put together elevations of every single major room.
That's crazy.
8 bathrooms. She has elevation of all the walls of all 8 bathrooms. She has elevations of mudroom, of kitchen, of basement, of everything. Mm-hmm. And not only the elevation, she has a document of 80 pages with descriptions.
That's a phenomenal design.
Yeah. And apart from that, she also has a document pointing out the suppliers.
She even went as far as the suppliers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
She's like my almost general contractor designer.
Yeah. That's insane. Because that's a whole job of itself.
Exactly.
Contracting. I call it, and not to be sacrilegious or anything, but I kind of call it the holy trinity in construction.
Yep.
Because you need the general contractor, the superintendent, and a project engineer. But people get the project engineer confused, and they think it's an actual engineer. No, it's the project engineer who's doing all the back end of the paperwork, finding the suppliers, finding the designer, coordinating that side of it, and putting the bids together and things like that. The project manager, superintendent, obviously is running the project once it's there. General contractor oversees it all. And if you don't have those type of 3, and you can subcontract a lot of that, but if you don't have those 3 in place, so it sounds like that designer not only doubled as an interior designer, but as a project engineer as well.
Yes. The thing that made it a little more difficult is that the clients wanted to start as soon as possible when they didn't have any finishings. Mm-hmm. They only knew that we want to break ground and add to the house before winter. But Anderson, we got no finishings. And I was like, if we have no finishings, I have no costs. Mm-hmm. And they told me, I will pay you $10,000 now. No, they actually said, tell me the cost
to start now
that you want me to pay you so you can start getting bids only for the structural.
The fact they offered you that, too, is pretty big because nobody will ever want to.
Yeah.
Shows how much trust you built with the process that you had already taken them through.
Exactly. And then I was honest. Mm-hmm. I told them, no one has ever asked me this question. No one has ever offered to pay me a check for me to go get bids. Mm-hmm. And so I, out of the sudden, just said, "Oh, I'll take 10,000." I was like, "Great, here we go." And
they just wrote it
a
right
check.
Then and there.
And then in the car, my wife was like, "Why didn't you do 50? You know that this project is going to be more than $2 million.
It's
50
like not
would
even
be
like
reasonable."
10% down at all.
And I was like, "No, I was happy with 10,000." So that was when it officially happened, and we started getting bids. Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing is, we worked because I knew that there were going to be so many unexpected things. I just worked with a cost plus contract.
I think let's talk about that. And I think a lot of we're talking on the phone yesterday and or 2 days ago, and a lot of where I might want to take this conversation a little bit is the actual systems and structures of a contracting company. Again, I think there's a lot of contractors out there that they were just laborers. They're trying to figure out how to do business, and they don't understand the different types of contracts or the different types of business structures, and especially technology. in our business, which is extremely important, but nobody uses, especially the smaller guys.
To make that transition,